Hello, Pod Fam. It's Laura.
And it's Rachel. Oh, you just shook things up. That freaked me out.
Sorry, I've been listening to our encore episodes and I was like, "Aw, that's cute. We
Oh,
used to open the episode like this." So, sorry. I was going to
it's
run it by
okay.
you, but then you hit play and I was just like, "Ah, shit. I better do it."
I just there's just an audible pause where I'm like, am I on the right show?
Insert
Where am
crickets.
I?
It's just Laura.
Oh god. Well, you know what? Sometimes you need to just add it in. It's like going back to that time where I just started the episode by hello.
Where am I?
I think that's I think these will be some of our best openings, but how are you
Yes.
this fine evening?
I am great. We finally had a little taste of spring,
Yes.
which is fantastic because earlier this week it was feeling like the middle of January with like -18 and
Yeah.
snow and wind, and it was so cold. So finally, at the end of the day, it was actually like +10 and
Mhm.
sunny. It was beautiful.
It was very nice, yeah. Well, when we're recording this, it's like the Canadian March break. I think they call it spring break in the States. I don't know.
Yeah.
And usually March break is like that feeling where you're like, "Oh, like spring is here, winter's over." Like I remember March break as a kid, I did ski programs sometimes, and you'd
Yes.
be like in your sweater, like it would be sunny, and then I was frozen on Tuesday, and I was just like, this doesn't feel like March break.
No, no, it didn't. So I think
No.
like March, coming in like a lion, hopefully out like a lamb. It's
Hmm.
too soon to say, but
Yeah.
we'll know once this episode goes out.
Yes, we will. We'll update you guys then if we remember.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you having to drink?
So this evening I am having a lemon ginger twist tea,
Oh,
and it's a rooibos tea.
a twist.
Yes, a little twist of
Wow.
lemon in my ginger.
Wow. Lovely.
Yes, what are you drinking?
I there's a story here actually. It's not a very interesting story, but it warms my heart. Remember like a few months back, probably in September, and I kept having this cinnamon spice tea
Yes,
for like 2 months, and then
yes.
my grocery store didn't have it back for like 4 months,
How
and
dare
I
they?
was devastated. And I was at the grocery store last weekend and they finally restocked it, and I was just like, so I've been drinking that pretty much every cup of tea for the last week. So that's what I'm having is my cinnamon spice. It's called Warmth. It's great.
Oh,
I feel
that sounds
very
just
warm when I
lovely.
drink it. It's
How
very
comforting.
it's very very nice. I need the comfort. So
Yes. And why do you need the comfort, Rachel? I think it has something to do with the
uh,
topic of today's episode.
yeah, so in case I haven't really talked about it too much, but everybody, I decided that it was a great idea to do a part time online certification while working full time. So, needless to say, I've become very well versed in balancing work with studying over the last 6 months. So
Yes.
we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna give you guys some tips, and I know Laura, you have a few tips too because you've done a couple self study
Yeah, I've
courses after
done
graduating.
2, 3 or 4 now. I think
Hmm.
4 actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're all starting to blend together. But before we kind of get into the study tips, let's talk about like just the benefits of doing like an upgrade course or just even a fun course on the side. I think there's so many benefits to it. And to start with like your professional development, it's always great to be expanding your skill set. These are employable skills. These are skills that are going to get you those promotions and bigger and better jobs. So,
Hmm.
for that reason, it's an excellent idea to always be taking professional courses. And I think, especially as we get older, we kind of saw it with the previous generation, and there's always like the memes on social media of like the young kids are always helping the older generation like how to open a PDF or like how to use an Excel program. Um, And I think it's very it's like a responsibility almost for ourselves to stay current on technology and everything that is happening maybe within the industry that you work in,
Mhm.
just so you stay relevant and on top of your game. And especially now, so many industries have a lot of registration programs or certifications that you have to meet, like continuing education credits. So it's really for your benefit that you're
Mhm.
staying on top of this, because it could actually, like for some industries, be the difference of whether you can actually do that job or not.
Mhm. Let me tell you, I was floored when I graduated from university and was informed that to move ahead in my career, I actually needed this designation and this course and this
Yes.
course. And once you have that designation, then you have to maintain your continuing education credits for basically the rest of your life to
Yep.
maintain it. And I was just like, this was not what I was told in school,
Yeah.
but it's a reality,
It
guys.
is. It is such a reality. And university, I find, okay, university, I'm not saying it's a scam, but, but
But
even though you're going through those, 4 years, 5 years plus, how many years, and you're getting your bachelor or whatever, um, these days, and just being honest here, that piece of paper does not get you very far.
mm-mm,
And I think about 95% of my friends who have gone through post secondary education have then gone on to do college courses
mhm,
or specialized certificate programs to actually become employable and
mhm,
actually learn the industry.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Would you agree? Like, have most of your friends also gone
Um,
on to continuing education? Or like
like,
some form of it?
yes and no, like, it really depends on, I think, the industry that they wanna go into. Like, I have a few friends who, are in, like, what is it? Like, social media marketing, like, kinda like those marketing agency jobs,
Yes.
um, that I know they haven't had to do extra certifications, at least yet. But, I know one friend who she got into some form, like, she had to do like a master's in international relations and things like that to get into her career field. And then I know that you had to do a couple courses, and then my partner also had to do a few because he's in architecture. But pretty much, like, I think like, any field that I know of where, like, you kind of are looked as an expert or a professional, yes. Pretty much
Yes.
all of those industries, I've learned you have to either be working towards something or already have that certification. So
Exactly, exactly. It just doesn't seem to, like, the bachelor degree just doesn't cut it anymore for
mhm,
a lot of, industries, and partly it's because of, competition as well, right? If 100 people have a bachelor's program, well, maybe the person who took the specialized course, they're gonna jump ahead of those other
mhm,
people. So just something to be mindful of, and, on the flip side, there's just there, development courses, but not so much for a professional reason, more just for your own personal growth. I think these are just as important as the professional courses, because
mhm,
it's it's so important for our minds to stay active and always learning new skills, because this is how we stay sharp.
mhm,
And that's kind of what I've been doing a little bit more lately. I'm kind of taking a pause on the professional development course, but there's things in my personal life where, like, you know what, I really want to get better, or I just want to learn that skill. It doesn't have to be something that's extremely complicated. It can be very, very simple.
mhm. Agreed. Yeah, and I think too sometimes it's just nice to learn something because it's fun.
Exactly. If you just have an
Yeah.
interest in it, take a course. Like, there's so many things that are actually free or
Mhm,
don't cost very much.
mhm.
So why not take advantage of that?
Yeah. And I think just important distinction with that too. just because you do that course for fun doesn't mean you have to do anything with it.
No,
It's just
no,
for
you
fun.
don't have to monetize it. I feel like, a lot of people get caught into that. Well, if I'm gonna do this course, I need to monetize it. I was definitely guilty of that. Um, but maybe it was something like I didn't really have an interest in monetizing. I just found it so fascinating
Mhm.
that I was just like, "Well, I just wanna learn this." And once I accepted that, where I was like, "You know what? I can just learn something to learn something. I
Mhm.
don't have to make it like my whole life or my business or something like that." That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
The world is your oyster when you accept that.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Shall we get into our tips? I don't know if any of you should listen to me, but I feel like we've learned a number of things. Hopefully, they're helpful to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Rachel, you kick it off here.
all right, so this is probably gonna. I'm gonna start with this tip, and it's gonna be pretty overarching for everything we're gonna say in this episode, and that is the importance of discipline when you are taking on a course, especially while you're working at the same time, because I'll paint a little picture. I work um, technically less than 40 hours a week now because we have half day Fridays, but some days you're there for a lot longer. And I also am doing a part time university certification in accounting, which is a lot of work. They market it as 8 hours, but it's more like 20 a week. So that's a lot of time to try to budget. And I also have my partner and my friends and my family and my health and fitness that I also need to fit in there. I also have cats to take care of. So it's quite a lot. And one thing that I found that's very helpful for me is just being very strict with what, during my day, when the time for each thing is.
Yes, it's really important to set boundaries when you are working full time and taking a course. And this can go for anything in your life when you're just juggling multiple things. You
Hmm.
have to have those strong boundaries of, okay, it's time to put this away now and move on to something else. Or now is the time, like, I can't watch any more TV. I need to sit down for the next hour
Hmm.
and read my textbook.
Yeah, like for example, a typical Tuesday night or Tuesday for me is I go to work from 8:30 to 4:30. I come home, kind of just chill out for an hour just to like calm my brain down and enter a different space. Study till about 7:30, and then maybe we will go climbing together. So that's like our relationship time with my partner and our health and fitness time. Or I will keep studying if I have more work to do. But when I've set my mind that, okay, tonight we're having relationship time or health and fitness time, I stop at a certain point because, especially with like work and studying, it's so easy just to keep going,
Hmm.
even if you're mentally drained. And that's another thing, too, is setting a boundary with yourself for when kind of enough is enough and you need to give yourself a break. So for instance, yesterday when I was studying, like I had a full day at work and it's a very busy time for us right now. And then I studied from about 5:30 to 9 o'clock, which by the end of it, like I felt like my brain was mush.
Yeah.
And I just, I went to bed and stuff, but today, like, I was just so exhausted at work. Like, I was making it through my day and like I was doing a good job, but like, I was like, you know what? I can't do it tonight. And that's fine. Like, when
Hmm.
you have all these things going on in life, like, you just kind of have to, sometimes you need to take care of yourself first. And that's the boundary and the discipline you need to have.
Exactly. And there's two key things that you said there, Rachel, that I want to highlight. The first thing was, after you come from work, you don't jump right into studying. You take that hour to transition, right? Like, have a little break, have a little snack, just, do something mindless for an hour, and then you get back into it. Because I think it's so hard, and this is why, like, you'd be feeling that drain, is if you worked, 8 hours and then came home, immediately went into studying, and carried on, right? Like at that point, the second thing I want to highlight is like, what are you actually retaining?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. Like our brain needs to learn, take a break, learn, take a break. And, it's through our sleep and our rest. That is when that new information becomes set in our mind
Mhm.
because it's having a chance to absorb it, not just keep cramming more and more on top until you're so exhausted physically and mentally that, you could have read a whole chapter and not retained a single word. I know that's happened to me before
Mhm.
where your eyes are like scanning the page, but like nothing is going in your mind.
Nothing there.
No,
Just
it's empty. It's
no
empty. Your eyes
thoughts.
are just like, yeah, so we're reading, but your mind is like, no, we're not.
Yeah, your mind is like, "I actually am lying on, like, a poolside. I'm on
Yes.
vacation." Your brain has just left the building.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think too, kind of a good thing to jump off of here is when you're having a super busy week or you are feeling really drained, just be okay with it not being perfect,
Mhm.
which is tough for me. And like maybe some people will disagree with this. I'm kind of in a position where, you know, I am doing pretty well in the courses I'm taking, but it's also like I don't have to be getting like 95s in the course. So, depending on your situation, you may not agree with this, but sometimes just doing your best if you don't have a lot of time to study for a small quiz that you have, if you get a 70, that's awesome.
Mhm.
If you've had a really busy week or you didn't really retain much of the chapter that this quiz was on because a lot was going on, like that's okay. It doesn't, reflect on your capabilities as a student or your intelligence or anything. You have a very, very busy life and you're trying to balance a lot of things. The fact that you're even showing up to do it is the win of the situation. Like you are putting energy and effort into propelling your life forward. And that's what you have to hold on to. To propel your life forward, you don't need to be getting 100% on everything.
Exactly. And off that point, I kind of wanted to jump into the types of courses that someone might choose because there is the option of a self-study, which is what I have often done. So there is no fixed timeline, or the timeline is so great, it's 1 year,
Mhm.
um, that you can just, take the final exam anytime. Or there's a situation like your courses where there are, defined assignments due on this day and then you have an exam day. And
Mhm.
I find both have their challenges, right? Like for you, you have this finite amount of time that you have to be staying up to date every week with the subject matter because, the course is just going to move on whether you've read that chapter or not or done those assignments or not. Where in a self study, that might suit the lifestyle that is a little bit more busy, but you also have to have those boundaries because all that time could pass
Mhm.
and you never did the course. And then it's like either cramming at the end or you just don't bother completing it, right? And then you have that money that just went down the drain. So I think you have to be honest with yourself. I find for some people, like structure and those deadlines
Mhm.
are very important, even though it can seem like a lot. Where for others who might be very good at setting those boundaries, but they honestly just need a more flexible time frame, then those self-study courses are perfect for them. So definitely be honest with yourself, and it's no, neither one is right or wrong. It's doing what suits your lifestyle
Mhm.
and your learning
Yeah.
ability as well.
Yeah, and like I've had experience with both because a few years back I did the LSAT as well. So I was probably studying for that for about 4 months, and I think yeah, my recommendation with that is to invest in resources such as textbooks or like exam books that kind of push you in the right direction of building your own structure. So,
Yes.
for instance, when I was doing the LSAT, the book was kind of designed like the guy was. he designed it as in he was the teacher on the chalkboard talking directly to you. So he was like, okay, so this week you should have done this, this, and this. Like he kind of developed, it was like a secondary site where he gave like a calendar where he's like,
Mhm.
if you're going to write the exam in 4 months, you should have done this week.
Right.
And just for me, that really helped, even though like it was kind of just, it was just there. Like he wasn't actually being like, you have to hand this in, but it just helped having like a guideline to follow.
It helped you pace
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah. Cause it's very easy to, I don't know if you do this, but sometimes with me, I don't know why. Sometimes like I want to jump ahead and see if I can do well on something when
Mhm.
I haven't even done the work yet. And then I
Right.
don't do well and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm not smart." And it's just like, "Well, actually just like slow down and actually do the study that you were
Yes.
doing." So, yeah, it helps you not jump too far ahead. I find it just
Yeah,
slows you down.
exactly. Exactly, and definitely on those self-study courses where they have a final exam, the ones I was doing were a fantastic opportunity because I had to take them during the exam time, so I would have to
Mhm.
book my time slot, go downtown Toronto and write the exam. Um, I found that it was very beneficial for me to set that exam date because then
Mhm.
I was working towards something. Because on a lot of my courses, um, I set those dates and it took me, I think some of the courses I did in like 3 months, where the one where I didn't set that exam, I I think I sat on it for 10 months. And then I was like, I better book this exam or else I'm never going to do this course. And I'm someone I kind of like a little bit of pressure. I need to be working towards something
Mhm.
or else like it'll take me so long to get around to all the material that like I'll have to start over again cuz I won't remember what was in chapter 1.
Yeah.
Um I kind of have to keep things a little bit more well paced just so I can keep my mindset like on that topic because once it like stretches out over a long period of time, I'll be like, I don't know what this is about anymore. I have to start over. You know, it's just like you leave it for too long. It's like having that novel that's not one where you sit down and you read in one sitting. You like pick it up, put it down, and then you're like, what was this book even about? So you have to be careful with that one. So that's why I really recommend setting those time frames for your exams or
Mhm.
if you're really well organized with your boundaries, having that set time frame, like what you were saying, is like you should be here by this month, and work it out that way. So I think
Mhm.
that's a really effective way to kind of just keep yourself going
Mhm.
and not cramming too much, but also not studying enough.
Mhm. I definitely agree. And I think as well, just speaking of I'm just gonna focus on like either self-study or online courses that don't have a lecture perspective because that's what you and I have most experience in. But really try like if you're given a textbook, really try to understand the resources that have come with that book. Like what is available to you. So, for instance, last course that I did before the one I'm currently doing was we had the book, but then they had this whole course site that the publisher made that had PowerPoints and like flashcards, little quizzes, things to test your knowledge with the assumption that you're not in a class doing this because I don't know about you. I don't do that well reading from a textbook. Just
I
reading from a
don't
textbook.
either. I'm not good with textbooks. I always, if you can, I will pay for like practice exams or
Mhm.
practice questions. Just with the courses that I had, they had those features available, and I did very well on those exams. But the ones where they're like, "Here's a book, see you at the exam,"
Yeah.
I I don't do as well because you don't get a feel of what the questions are going to be like. So you
Mhm.
don't know what to focus on in the textbook. So you're trying to retain everything, but they're not going to test you on everything. They pick like maybe a few things to really
Mhm.
dive into, and maybe that was something that you didn't retain as well.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's why I'm a big fan of practice exams and all that kind of stuff. Because the first course I did, so I did the Canadian Securities course. This is a very popular course if you were entering into the finance world. It's a very baseline course, so it's very popular. There's so much for resources. Like with my whole package of the course, I had practice questions, and then I had two previous exams that I was able to take multiple times to really get a feel of what the questions are like. And honestly, when I took those, I was like, oh my God, I'm retaining the wrong information. I need to be doing this.
Mhm.
So, but then as I got into different courses, I ended up taking some very obscure courses that they did
Mhm.
not provide any practice questions on. And I found that my mark suffered because, like, I didn't really know how to answer the questions.
Mhm.
And they were not very black and white either. They were very gray,
Mhm.
because it was very much, so I'll just say it was like kind of a compliance
Mhm.
based. So it was like, what is the most correct of these correct things? And that was pretty
Oh my
much the
god, I hate
exam.
those
And
questions.
so unless you've had practice doing those, I know you had experience with this with the LSATs, like it was training you how to answer those types of questions.
Mhm.
I didn't have that for that course. So it was just like a little bit more challenging when you're reading the exam questions and being like, okay, what are they really asking here?
Yeah. And I think too, like with just the nature of like finance and accounting textbooks, there's so much information, and especially like in accounting, like financial reporting, there's a rule for everything, and there's variances of those rules that when you're just reading the book and you don't have a teacher doing lectures to kind of guide you through what you really need to know, it's very easy to go through with a highlighter and highlight the whole book because you're like, everything is important. It feels like I
100% I
feel
have
like,
done that. I've just, and then I
yeah.
look back, I'm like, I highlighted the whole page.
It's like, suddenly, why are my notes for one chapter 30 pages long? So, um, that's kind of what I was dealing with the last courses, but the course I'm doing right now is really great because the professor posts the publisher's PowerPoints as the recommendation of what to start with each week. So, what I've been doing to help myself is going through and reading the PowerPoint, basically making some notes from that. And then I go back through to the textbook and I see, oh, okay, what in these different sections that have been highlighted as important do I see that actually needs to be added here? Because when you do that, you kind of realize a lot of what the textbook is saying is a lot of fluff.
Yes.
But without those points, those touch points of like what's actually important, you'll just get lost in it. So I know that's not the case with every course, but that's what I mean. Like if you have that available to you, take advantage of it because you'll
100%.
be in a
Definitely.
way better situation than you otherwise would.
Yes. Yes. Can't
Yes.
agree with that more. And I kind of want to flip in now to the personal development
Hmm.
courses. These are like the passion projects, right?
Yes.
Like you're taking these courses because you really want to learn like how to knit or, whatever, how to cook better. There's lots of different things.
Wine. You want
Wine.
to
Maybe
learn
you
about
want to
wine.
just want to learn about wine, be like a sommelier. Um,
Okay, actually, side note on that, apparently
yeah.
there's a wine course that, like, truly is, like, the hardest course ever,
Yes, it is.
apparently.
That is actually the hardest exam. I know about that.
Fascinating. I love
I
it.
know. The world of wine. Um, so yeah, like those are the things that you're passionate about. You're going to take the time to learn. And that's more what I've been doing this past year. And I feel like I've done like a wide range of them. Um, Back in late November, early December, I did like a 10-day meditation course. And I
Mhm.
know I've talked about that before. That was amazing because like I didn't really know much about meditation. So I took a course on like just different styles. And that was with Oh My Annie. She's just on YouTube. Sorry, I can't remember her last name. It's like very long.
Mhm.
Um, and that was a fantastic course. I'm now doing another 10-day channeling. Wow. It's not channeling. Um, Another 10-day meditation challenge. And this is with Jolie Dawn. And this one is also meditation, but a little bit of a different style.
Mhm.
But it was just kind of a way for me to revisit meditation again and kind of um, expand like different types of meditation, because it is something like you have to try all these different styles and find out what resonates with you.
Mhm.
And then the other course that I'm doing um, is, I know I've said it for like years on the podcast that I was going to do, and I finally did it, is I am
Mhm.
taking a French course. Um,
Woo!
I know, finally. So if you guys like didn't know, I grew up in Quebec and I was very fluent as a child, but because I just have been out of that culture and not speaking it very frequently, I really lost my confidence on speaking French with people. And so finally, I was like looking for a French tutor, but I was just like, I feel like I just need to take like a basic course just to kind of revisit everything. And I found one. Plus, it's free, which love
Nice.
free courses. And this is honestly for any of our Ontario listeners. If you go to the Brampton Library, you can
Mm.
sign up for a library card. It's free and you don't have to live in Brampton. um, you get access to the uh, Gale University, and there are all these courses that are free through the Brampton Library, and you can honestly learn anything. So
Hmm.
they have like Spanish, French, Italian, photography courses, computer courses, finance courses, um, just all of these different courses, and they are 6 weeks long, all online, and they have like little assignments, little quizzes. And the one I'm in right now, like 2 lessons come out a week, and I just, work through them, all that kind of stuff. It's not too
Mhm.
complicated. It's a very easy computer program. And so far I love it. Like it's just been
Nice.
really great to do something like that. And then I was going through the course catalog. They have like photography courses and how to use your camera and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, this is just so fascinating. So that is the Brampton Library, and you go to the e-courses, which is like the Gale University. And I think you
Wow.
even get like a little certificate at the end. So I'm taking the conversational French. I wish they had more French classes. They have a lot of Spanish classes. And honestly, they have a sign language class, and I really want to take that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I feel like
I'd
that's
like
a
to learn
skill that
that.
more of us need to know these days.
Mhm.
And so, I was telling my dad about taking this French course, and he was just like, oh my gosh, like I need to brush up on my French too. Like he's like, I've lost so much of it since we moved back to Ontario. And so he is in the course with me. And
Aw.
it's really cute. He
Family
called me today.
bonding.
I know, he called me today and he was like, "Bonjour." And we had a little conversation in French, and then we're like, "Okay, let's go back to English." Um, but it was kind of nice. Like it's something that we can kind of like, we don't do the course together, like because you just kind of do it on your own. But it's nice to have that like accountability person
Mhm.
to work on it with. So that's like my new exciting thing that just started literally yesterday. So I'll
Nice.
keep you guys posted on how it's going. If I like the format, I think I'm definitely going to sign up for the sign language course.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't
And
wait.
sorry, I guess like a tip on that of just doing these like challenges and courses. These are ones that have a time frame on it,
Mhm.
and they don't necessarily have like a show up at this time. They do, but just with like sometimes time changes and work schedules, it's hard to go live.
Mhm.
But then they just provide like the lecture video after.
Mhm.
And so, when I'm making dinner, I just throw it on and I listen to it. Or like when I'm getting ready in the morning, or even like in the shower, I just like have my laptop playing just so I can listen to it.
Mhm.
And that's honestly how I got some of these like just self development courses done.
Nice.
Yeah.
I should try one of those out like 2 years from now
Yeah, you're
when
too busy
my
right now. Don't do it now because, like, the even, like, the French course, I think it took me an hour to
Mhm.
do, like, just lesson 1. So, it's not like a huge time commitment, but
Mhm.
if you're already working full-time and studying part-time in a whole, like, program, you're not gonna have time
Mhm.
for this.
Yes. One day in the future. But speaking
Yes.
of being busy, this isn't necessarily a studying tip, it's more just like keeping yourself healthy while you are doing it. Because I feel like it's very easy when you work full time and also study part time for a lot of hours to kind of just fall into a habit of not really taking care of yourself. I've definitely had that experience. Uh, this time around, I am pretty lucky because my partner will cook for me most nights, so I can just keep studying and like he's got it. I have a nice healthy meal. It's good. But back in the day when I was doing the LSAT, I was single. I did have roommates, but you know, they weren't making me dinner each night. It was unfortunate. But meal prepping is your best friend when you are studying. Just like what I would do in those days, like I would make a big pot of soup that would last me for 4 days. And or I would make like a stir fry that would last me for 3 days or pasta, etc. Just always making enough to kind of keep you going on those days that you are cooking so that you don't need to cook every day. You can cook 3 times a week. And then that just frees up study time because otherwise it's very easy to kind of develop habits that aren't the best for you.
Yeah, like, you can develop really poor habits, like, you're just always snacking instead of having an
Mhm.
actual meal, or you're always getting takeout, which is it really racks up in
Mhm.
cost over a long period of time and usually isn't as healthy for you. So, yes, definitely making sure you have your meals ready to go, and then you just have to
Mhm.
microwave them.
Yeah, or you're just if you or you're just not eating very nutritionally dense foods. So say you're not doing the takeout thing, but you don't have very much time to cook, so then suddenly you've had craft dinner for 4 nights in a row. I have
Yeah.
done that
Yes.
before. And you kind of you know what? After having craft dinner every day for a week, you do start to feel a little sluggish.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, like, you gotta, like, feed your body, feed your mind,
mhm.
because it's
Keep
all
that mental
related.
acuity up.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, yeah, take care of your health, guys. No certification or, I don't know, program, course, anything is worth more than your health.
No,
Thank you.
definitely not. And I think an important thing to touch on for courses is the cost of them as well. Um, I think there's nothing wrong with kind of looking at a course and being like, okay, is this going to come back to me?
Hmm.
Right? Like, is the cost that you're putting in, is that going to come back in like a boost in your salary or your wage? Because if you're pouring all this money out without any return, then, those are courses that are probably not worth it to take.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
and, for Canadian listeners, there are lots of, tax benefits. There's a continuing education one that I believe you can claim up to 200 or $250 a year to a maximum of $2,000 or $2,500 in your lifetime. So definitely take advantage of those. Like, keep your receipts
Hmm.
and claim them. And even like tuitions, claim those.
Hmm.
That way you can at least get like a little bit back for
Hmm.
doing these courses.
100%. And also, too, like, I don't know, maybe this will be something for everybody to think on, but really before, again, kind of going back to like more like the program, like professional development certifications, it's okay to take a while to really think, is this right for me?
Hmm.
Is this right for the path I want to go down? Or is it just something that kind of gets expected of people around my level in my industry, or does somebody else really want me to do it? So then I feel like I want to do it. So just because, especially when you're starting out, there's a lot of things being thrown at you and a lot of different paths that you can go down. And it's hard to kind of sift through which one you feel is right. So just take some time to sit with it. Don't jump into something right away. Like, do your research, look at all the different routes that are available to you, and really set your mind on the one that feels right for you. And don't just like do it because your manager's like, oh, it'd be great if you had that,
Mhm.
if it doesn't mean something to you, because then you're not really gonna do it once the course actually starts.
Yeah,
Because if you,
exactly. And this might be a bit of like a controversial tip, but it's okay if you get into something and you hate it,
mm-hmm,
don't keep going. Stop
mm-hmm,
and pivot. And I feel like some people they'll be like, "No, like if you started it, you need to finish it." In my personal opinion, no you don't. um, why waste that time? Why waste that energy and resources when you could change it up and find something that you actually enjoy? Okay?
exactly.
Like it's okay to try things and not like them. Okay? Because I feel like a lot of us we get stuck on like, "Oh, I'm a failure if I don't follow through with this." No you aren't. Okay? If it's something that's just not resonating with you, try something else. It's
Mm-hmm.
not worth the energy to keep going.
It's not worth the money
No, it's not
either,
worth
because
anything.
these programs can be very expensive, both in time, monetary, emotionally, just everything. That if you're doing something that you really just don't enjoy,
Mhm.
like it's gonna affect you. So don't make yourself do that when you don't
Yeah,
you don't really have to.
exactly. Like, I know a couple people who have been like, "Oh, I got into this and I'm gonna finish it even though, like, I don't want a career in this anymore." I'm like, "Why are you finishing it?" They're like, "Well, then I have this credential." I'm like, "But you don't wanna do anything with it. Like, you
Hmm.
hate this, so why why are you bothering?" So, I don't know, maybe other people have a different opinion from me, but that's just my opinion on it. Like, why pursue something if you're not gonna do anything with it and you hate it?
Yes, and it's our show, so our opinions are law here.
Exactly.
Thank
We are
you.
not wrong on our show.
No, we are not.
That's gonna that's gonna bite us in the ass one day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So yeah, those are all my tips. Again, hope it was helpful, guys. I don't know if I'm like, a great role model for this. And
You're doing
maybe when
great.
I
You're doing great, Rachel.
thank you. Maybe in my second tip where I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect and you can just like gun for the 65. People are like, no. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? When you're in, like, the professional courses, it's sometimes it's just pass or fail, right? Like, you pass,
Exactly.
you pass.
Unfortunately, mine are not like that, but
No, yours are
guys,
not, but, there are other courses out there where it's just, like, you have to hit, like, I don't know, over 65 or over 70, and they're like, "Pass, excellent."
yep.
Um, sometimes that's just good enough, right?
Mhm. Yeah, guys, when I told Laura I was doing this course and I was stressed about how much work it was going to be, she looked me dead in the eyes and goes, C's get degrees, hun. And I was just like, you're right. They
Yes,
do.
but I only said that to you because when you were in university full time, you strived for that, like, 90 plus.
Oh, yeah, I never got it, but I did
Yeah.
try.
So I was just trying to be like, "Hey, don't stress if you're not getting 90s,
Hmm.
right? And you're not stressing. And look at that, you're getting really good grades."
Yeah, I'm trying. I am trying. But yeah. So those are the end that's the end of my tips. Do you have any more? I have an individual assignment I have to get going on, so,
Gotta get back to the grind. No,
got
those
to
are
get to the
all my
grind.
tips. So please, like, definitely explore professional development and personal development just to keep your brain active. And actually, a friend of mine, she started taking like computer courses and just different types of courses uh, throughout the winter just because she's like, I'm so sick of like coming home and watching TV and like having a glass of wine or just like scrolling on social media. So she's just like, I want to learn something. So she found things that she's not very good at. And she's like, I'm going to get better at this. And that's what she's been doing. She's done like 6 or 7 courses now
Mhm.
of just like small things of just being like, how do you use Microsoft Office better? And, good for her. So
Good for her.
yeah, you don't have to be working towards like a professional things. It could just be like, I suck at this and I want to be better. So there you go.
Love that.
It could be anything. You can take a course on anything.
Love that. So, listeners, if you have any other tips for studying while working full time, or any study tips in general, please email us at teawithlaurarachele@gmail.com. And if you liked this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify because it really helps out the show and helps other listeners like you find us.
Yes, and if you have any friends or family or acquaintances, coworkers who are currently taking a course or thinking about taking a course, definitely share this episode with them.
Mhm.
And with that, live like tea.
Live like tea.